Hey everyone, welcome to the training. I'm glad you can make it on. When you're jumping on, type in chat where you're coming in from, say hello. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Tonight, I will be sharing with you how to avoid potentially dangerous ingredients in pet products so your pets can live a longer, healthier, happier life. Before we get into it, just curious, how many of you have ever felt frustrated and confused about what was best and worried about the pet products you were purchasing? Yes, I was right there with you. I was also one of those who was frustrated. And just curious, what would it feel like if you were able to easily select better quality products for your pets by simply looking at some key ingredients? Let me know in chat. Less stressful. You wouldn't worry so much about what you were feeding your pets. Awesome. And this training is for you if you're a pet owner and you want to know how to easily choose the healthiest products for your pets, products without those potentially dangerous ingredients. And it's for you if you're concerned about all the recalls and lawsuits, and there was recently just more recalls. If you think you are feeding quality food but have that feeling there is something better out there. And that's where I was at a little over 3 years ago. Little introduction about me really quickly. I've been clean eating for over 20 years, and when I started clean eating, it was called just being a health nut. I've been involved in nutrition and fitness for over 25 years. I worked in the corporate world for over 25 years in the IT department. I started researching and studying nutrition and ingredients in personal care products and cleaning products over 20 years ago. So transitioning into the pet industry was very natural for me. I started researching and studying the pet industry over 3 years ago because of problems I had with my own dogs. I'm now a certified pet food nutrition specialist, and my passion is helping pet owners take care of their dogs and cats holistically and naturally, and sharing what I've learned and what I continue to learn about the pet industry. And I mentioned why I got involved. Both my dogs got sick on a bag of food that we purchased, and I did find out that it was recalled because I did my own research on the internet. No one contacted me. I purchased expired food, and that's when I knew there had to be something else out there that I could trust for my pets. And that's when I went looking for another company, a company that I could trust for my pets, and I did find one. How many of you, just ask you this question, even check the expiration date of the pet food that you're buying in the store? I never looked at the expiration date until one day I realized the food was expired that I had purchased. These are our two fur kids, Dusty and Morgan. Dusty's about 13 years old, 12, 13. He's our Dalmatian mix, and Morgan's going on 15. She's our Border Collie mix. And these are our two healthiest senior dogs that we've ever had. They're still active. We have no health problems. Morgan's a little bit slower. She does take joint formula to help her out, but she's still running. She runs up and down the steps. They're still very active dogs. What we'll be covering tonight: the mass distribution of pet products in stores and why it's problematic, how to easily spot ingredients you want to avoid, how these ingredients could be harming your pet's health. Keep in mind, though, what we're covering only touches the surface of what is going on and what is allowed in the pet industry. There's so much. There's more than I can even put into one presentation, so I will be creating other presentations. Some sad facts. There has been over 1,134 recalls, and as I mentioned, there was just recently canned cat food recall. Even if there aren't recalls, complaints, illnesses, and deaths continue to occur. It does take a lot for a manufacturer to recall a product. 1 in 4 dogs will be diagnosed with cancer. Cancer in cats is less common than in dogs, but when cats do get cancer, it's usually a more aggressive form of cancer. Our pets' poor health is mirroring our own poor health because of poor nutrition, which means vet costs are on the rise. And I can't tell you how many pet owners I talk to, their pets have some medical issue going on. Just like with humans, diet is the foundation of health. It can either heal or harm. Pet labels can be and are very confusing. Reading a pet food label should be straightforward, but it's not. It's nowhere as clear as human food labels. Let's touch on the FDA and AAFCO quickly. The FDA, most of us may think, regulates pet foods, but that's not really the case. They just make sure the ingredients in pet foods are generally recognized as safe or GRAS, and that's a term used in human products too, and that the food is properly labeled. They don't have the resources to regulate pet food, so the task is left to AAFCO, which AAFCO really isn't doing a very good job either. AAFCO is the American Association of Feed Control Officials, and they provide minimum requirements. And the requirements are very confusing. The other problem is that the members of the pet food manufacturing industry are part of AAFCO. There's a conflict of interest here, which directly impacts what your dog or cat eats. The industry representatives naturally stand to gain from helping decide how AAFCO regulates pet foods. So there really is a lack of regulation when it comes to pet food. Let's jump in. Do you have your pet food in front of you? If you want to go through your ingredients as we go through some of these ingredients to see if you have any in the food you're currently feeding. The mass distribution of pet products in stores. The average length of time a food will be sitting in a warehouse is 6 months or more before it even goes on the shelf. If the expiration date is about to expire, that food could have been sitting around for years. And foods made with synthetic preservatives, BHA, BHT, and ethoxyquin, may have a best by date or expiration date that is 18 months or more past the date of manufacture. And by sitting in different warehouses with different temperatures, which is hot and cold temperatures, this could cause many problems such as mold, bugs, bacteria, worms, and lack of nutrition can occur. And I'll be showing you some pictures. Let's look at some examples. Here is a container, and this was on Facebook last year. I think it was over the summer. The woman bought a bag of dog food at a retail store, a well-known retail store. She brought the bag home, put it in this container, opened it up, and this is what she found inside the container. When she opened it, you can see the arrows. She took the bag back, she got a second bag, and talked to the store manager, who said to her, "We have a problem with our warehouse, and we know it, but it hasn't yet been fixed." And they were still putting the products on the shelves when they knew they had a problem with their warehouse. Here's some more examples of moldy food that people opened. And more examples. And you can see from this bag that it's not the cost of the food where the mold or the bugs occur. It's a problem that happens with the way it's distributed. These companies don't have an option but to make their food in bulk. They sit in their warehouse, then they're shipped to other warehouses, then they're shipped to store warehouses. So they're being moved around a lot. What you want to avoid. The low quality ingredients we'll be talking about today. Excuse me. Animal or meat byproducts, animal digest, artificial colors or flavors, chemical preservatives, BHA, BHT, and ethoxyquin, corn, wheat, gluten, and soy, carrageenan, propylene glycol, meat and bone meal, metadine, sodium bisulfite complex, and sugar. These are some of the low quality ingredients you want to avoid. These are the main ones. We won't be talking about all of these, but we will be talking about a number of them. And I will be sending you a handout so you don't have to write everything down. First, animal or meat byproducts and animal digest. It's rendered in ground carcasses and parts including heads, brains, bones, feet, and intestines. It's a cheap source of poor quality protein. And you want to avoid this because it's anonymous. It just says animal and it just says meat byproducts. There's no mention of a specific animal, so it could be coming from almost anywhere, including roadkill, euthanized animals, including dogs and cats, zoo animals, restaurant waste, and spoiled supermarket meats. Is this what you want to be feeding your pets? This is one of the dirty little secrets of the pet industry that they don't want you to know about. Canned foods are no better. Meat scraps and offal from packing house waste. Right here it tells you they're using garbage, freshly boned out animals, and occasionally meat from animals that may have died otherwise than by slaughter. So your canned food is no better. Meat and bone meal. It's a dry rendered product from mammal tissues, including bone. It's supposed to be exclusive of added blood, hair, hoof, horn, hide trimmings, manure, stomach, and rumen contents. And again, this is an anonymous ingredient. There's no mention of a specific animal, so it could be coming from anywhere. Again, spoiled supermarket meat, roadkill, dead, diseased, or dying livestock, even euthanized animals. These ingredients, the meat and bone meal, animal digest, animal byproducts, these all come from the rendering industry. And this is the dark side of recycling when it comes to the pet industry. Let's take a quick look at the rendering industry. Rendering is the process of cooking raw animal material to remove the moisture and fat. The rendering plant works like a giant kitchen that's going 24 hours a day. And what they're making is almost similar to a large vat of soup. The cooker or the chef blends the raw product in order to maintain a certain ratio between the carcasses of pets, livestock, poultry waste, and supermarket rejects. All these are being mixed together, then being made into pet food. Once the animals are first cut up into smaller pieces, they're shredded and then cooked. The problem is that dead pets collected from shelters, it's not bad enough that you could have dogs and cats in your pet food, but they're coming from shelters and frequently thrown into the grinder with their flea collars still attached. Also pesticides from tainted livestock. Antibiotics and drugs from euthanized animals have regularly been found in rendered products. Here are some pictures of a rendering plant. More pictures. And more pictures. And you can see all the animals in these big bins. Why are these ingredients allowed? Because there's no place else to put them. So your pets are being used as a waste disposal for the human food industry. Are you getting angry yet? To avoid choosing a dog or cat food that might contain dead cats and dogs and the other ingredients allowed from the rendering industry, there's only one way to minimize the risk. Never buy any product made with an anonymous animal ingredient. Are you starting to get a picture of the ingredients that are allowed in pet products? Have you found any of these in the pet food that you're using? Just make a note of it. Then we go to artificial colors and dyes. These are eye-catching colors in your pet food that the manufacturers put in to appeal to you, the consumer. It makes the food look more like actual meat, vegetables. They have no benefit to your dog and cat. It can actually be harmful. Kibble should be brown. Red and green kibble equals artificial colors and dyes. I do want to mention there is a company out there that I found. I was looking at something for someone, and Blue Buffalo has had its problems, and I noticed that they're using caramel in their foods, which will make the kibble a more golden brown. But caramel is still a known carcinogen. It's what is trying to be banned from Coke and Pepsi. So you also want to watch for caramel coloring. And Blue Buffalo is one brand that I have found uses caramel coloring in their foods. These colorings add no nutritional value for your pets, only potential health problems from mild to severe, including cancer. So if you see colors, unless it's a real piece of meat and you know it's a real piece of meat and it is a color, stay away from colors in your pet food. Let's take a look at some more examples of what is allowed in your pet foods. When you see so many packagings that say whole chicken or real chicken is the first ingredient, so we all would naturally think that this is what we would see. However, from the example of the rendering plant, you now know better that this is allowed, spoiled chicken, and rotting chicken is allowed. The other issue is, and I'm using chicken for this presentation as my examples, but this applies to any animal protein source. Chicken can be called chicken even if it contains mostly bone, and that is allowed. The manufacturers can grind up the bone and call it chicken, and very little to no meat. The meat is the most expensive ingredient in the food, so lower priced foods will have low quality protein. Higher priced foods are higher priced because they're using quality meats. For example, just the breast and thigh meat. Corn, wheat, gluten, and soy. How many of you out there are trying to avoid corn, wheat, gluten, and soy because you now know it's not healthy for us? And it's the same for your pets. It's an inexpensive source of incomplete proteins. It's more of a filler. It's in low-end foods and in the veterinarian prescribed foods. And veterinarian prescribed foods are at the lowest end of the food chain. They're the most awful ingredients in them. And I will be doing more of a discussion showing you a comparison between veterinarian prescribed food and regular low-end food in the stores. So look for that. It might be of interest of you, especially if you're using veterinarian prescribed food. Corn, wheat, gluten, and soy are common allergens for dogs and cats. They're poorly digested and the protein is largely unavailable. They provide incomplete proteins to your dogs and cats. And here's an example. Think about this. You have a cornfield. Cats are out there. The cats will not be going for the corn. They'll be going for the mice that are in the cornfield. Can disturb immune system functions, susceptible to molds and toxins, and can cause health problems, can cause your pet to become overweight, cause diabetes, arthritis, chronic skin conditions, and allergies. And cats should not be just eating corn. If the first ingredient is corn or any ingredient is corn in your cat food, cats need meat to thrive. They're carnivores. They need meat. Here are some examples. Beneful dog food. The first ingredient is corn. There's nothing healthy in this food. Why it's even still on the shelves. Byproducts. It says chicken byproducts, but it's still, anytime you see a byproduct, that means leftover. Corn again, wheat, animal fat, and animal. As we talked about, this is an anonymous animal source. You don't know what animal this has come from. Soy, meat and bone meal, more anonymous animals. And as think back to the rendering plant where they put all the different supermarket waste, dogs and cats, livestock, all in one big vat and cook it all together. Propylene glycol, sugar, dyes, metadine, sodium bisulfite. There's a little bit of beef down here, but it's so far down in the ingredient list that really it's so minimal it won't even make a difference. Meow Mix cat food. This is very common with the pet owners I talk to. Look at the first two ingredients. It's all corn. Then we have byproducts. Soybean, beef tallow, soy hulls, Animal Digest, again anonymous. Another byproduct, dyes, metadine, sodium bisulfite. There's a little bit of salmon and ocean fish in here, but again, just like with the Beneful, it's so far down in the ingredient list that it's not providing any benefit to your cats. Pedigree choice cuts and gravy with chicken. And this is really interesting. We have a little bit of chicken as the first ingredient, but as I mentioned, there's more to it than these ingredients when it comes to pet products, and the labels tell you a lot about the percentage of an ingredient. And this says with chicken. When it says with, it only needs to be 3% to pass AAFCO requirements. So could be very, very little chicken in here. It's mostly meat byproducts. Again, meat. You don't know what animals. Wheat flour, liver, unnamed liver source. Wheat gluten, uses vegetable oil, which is very cheap, and dyes. So again, I would not touch this food. Pedigree is another popular brand. I would not touch this food for my dogs. Carrageenan, and this is in human food, is used as a thickener in canned pet foods. It doesn't matter if it's a lower price or premium expensive food. When it comes to carrageenan, and if you're trying to stay away from it, you do have to read the labels. And I can help you with canned food that does not contain carrageenan, because there are not too many brands out there that don't have it. It can cause gastrointestinal inflammation, ulcerations, and tumors. So you're feeding your pet canned food every day with this carrageenan, and all these ingredients start building up in your pet's system. They may not become ill right away, but down the road, your pet might start having a number of health problems. Here's some examples. Blue Buffalo Wilderness has carrageenan. Wellness, another more expensive brand, still uses carrageenan. So if you need help with canned food without carrageenan, I can help you with that. How's everyone doing so far? Has this been helpful? Great, I'm glad you're getting value out of this. Great, awesome. Let's take a look at a study and some information that the Cornucopia Institute found. They found that different brands are all owned by a few multinational corporations, and nearly identical food is merely packaged differently. 93% of all pet foods sold in the US are produced by 3 companies Mars, Nestle, Purina, Procter & Gamble, and Mars is far ahead of owning more than any other company. Then we have Hills and Smuckers in fourth and fifth place. The desire to maximize profit margins drives money into advertising and packaging rather than high-quality ingredients, and this is still part of the cornucopia study. Overall, the pet industry is failing its customers as a provider of nutritious, wholesome food for our dogs and cats, and you've seen that through this presentation. As a whole, the pet industry can be viewed as a waste disposal vehicle for human food manufacturers, exhibiting disregard for the health of your pets. Again, when they say, what do we do with all these dead livestock, dogs and cats, supermarket waste? It has to go somewhere. So it's going, some of it, into your pet products. Cheap substitutes and false health claims seem to be the norm when it comes to pet products. And I say this often in my videos, when it comes to pet products, the price is directly linked to the quality of the ingredients. Meat is the most expensive part of the ingredients. So the higher priced foods will be using more meat and less bone and less byproducts. So in summary, if you see ingredients that are not animal specific, for example, meat and bone meal, animal or meat byproducts, animal digest, if you see colors and dyes, animal fat, carrageenan, corn, wheat, gluten, and soy, put it back on the shelf because your pet's health could depend on it. But I don't want you to beat yourself up if you are or have no choice but to feed some of the less expensive, low quality foods. The goal here is to make you more aware so as you're able, you can make better selections. We understand sometimes it's economics. Oftentimes, and this is what I find most often, people just don't know, and I didn't know. So I do understand when people say, oh gosh, I just didn't know. And some people feel really bad and they feel like bad pet owners, which they shouldn't, because the pet industry doesn't want you to know a lot of what is going on. The goal here is to strive to feed a better food once you're able or once you know what to look for. Some of what you do want: specific animal source protein as the first ingredient, specific animal source protein as the first and second ingredient, if the first ingredient is whole or real chicken, turkey, or lamb, whatever the animal source. And here's why. When it's whole chicken, this is 70 to 80% water. So once it's cooked and the water is removed, it leaves you with only about 10% protein. Chicken meal, on the other hand, is already, the water is removed before it's cooked. So it gives you the opposite ratio. Chicken meal will provide you with 70% or more protein for your pet and only about 10 to 15% water. So it's opposite of the whole chicken. That's why I always tell people, whole chicken, yes, it's a quality ingredient, but it's not giving you much. 2 or more protein sources, and this is because every protein source contains a different, unique complement of amino acids. So if you have 2 or more different protein sources, you're getting this array of amino acids, the building blocks of the pet's body. Antioxidants, prebiotics and probiotics. And if a food says that it has probiotics in it, make sure it's in the guaranteed analysis section. Because if it's not in there, you have no guarantee that the live bacteria is actually live. The cooking process does kill the live bacteria unless it's added in a special way. Being in the guaranteed analysis gives you that verification that it is live and you're paying for probiotics, and they will do what they're supposed to do. Otherwise, you could be, and most likely are, just throwing away good money on probiotics that are dead. Fruits and vegetables, omega-3 and 6s. And look at the company's recall history and also complaints. Google the company and you'll see complaints that have come up. You might even find the FDA website with complaints about the company. There's all different ways to find information on a company. And I also am always posting about recalls and complaints and information on different companies. So watch my posts on my Facebook page. Now that you have an idea of some of what is allowed in your pet products, and again, this only touches the surface, my offer to you is I'll do a free comprehensive pet food analysis and consultation, as well as a comparison of the products that I found and trust for my pets. Possibly what I found might be a solution for your pets too. And I did a lot of research a little over 3 years ago, looking for a company that I could trust after my pets got sick on food, after I bought expired food. And I did find a company that makes their products in small batches. They make it daily. They ship right to your door. The food is 4 to 6 weeks old, and it's shipped right from their climate-controlled warehouse. Think back at the pictures of the problems and the bugs and the worms, the pet store saying, oh, we know we have a problem with our warehouse, but we're still putting the food on the shelf. This doesn't happen here because it's shipped right from the company's very own climate-controlled warehouse. So possibly it might be a solution for you. It may not be. If not, I can make other suggestions for you. I'll break down the ingredients, go over the serving size because you might be surprised at the difference in serving size. I'll go through the guaranteed analysis for you. I'll also dig deeper and really dissect the ingredients to go over what the label might be telling you. There's also ingredient splitting. There's a 25% rule. There's a 3% rule. And these are all things that the average person would not know to look for. All you need to do is fill out a short form and send it back to me, and I'll get back to you in 2 to 3 business days with your customized analysis. And let me show you the form. Here's the pet profile form. All you need to do is fill out, it's not that long. Be as specific as possible, especially when it comes to the brand and formula of food. And if your pet has any allergies, ear problems, diabetes, any type of issues or concerns that you have. And then all you need to do is send your pet profile and it will be sent to me and I will start working on it. Here's the link to fill out the form, donnavincent.info, and the short form will come up for you. If you have questions or comments, you can send them to me at donnavincentonline@gmail.com and I will get back to you. I want to thank you all for joining me on this training. I'll check the chat to see if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any come in, so if there's no questions, again, here's your link for the pet profile. Email me if you have questions. And again, I'll be sending out some handouts to you that go along with this presentation. Thank you again. I hope you got some value out of this presentation and it helps you when you're selecting your pet products. Have a good day, everyone.